Background: my youngest slept with his brother's wife. After my oldest found out, he and his wife got a divorce, and my youngest married her a year later. My 56 male, oldest son 33, had cancer and passed away 3 weeks ago. Over the months leading up to his death, my youngest son 30 and his wife had been trying to reconcile with my oldest, but he always made it known that he wanted nothing to do with them. He told me they were unforgiven and wouldn't forgive them just to ease their guilt. He used to get mad at me when I kept bringing up the idea of reconciling, so I just stopped trying. I just kept telling my youngest and his wife that they had to accept that he wanted nothing to do with them and they needed to move on. When my oldest passed, I didn't tell my youngest or his wife to honor his wishes. He always made it clear that they didn't deserve to mourn him in life, and they didn't deserve to mourn him in death either. About a week ago, my youngest saw his brother's obituary and called me, screaming for not telling him that his brother had passed. He told me that I denied him the opportunity to make things right and that I should have told him his brother passed. I told him that it would be disrespectful for him to even come in the first place, as his brother wouldn't have wanted him there, and that he and his wife denied themselves from attending. He hung up on me and blocked my number. My wife told me that she felt guilty for not telling him and that we should have given him the opportunity to say goodbye to his brother. I told her I would find it disrespectful of us to do so, as he made it clear that he didn't want them to come. She told me that she understands, but she's upset that our youngest is mad at us and that we should try to put everything behind us to heal. I told her that what our youngest did was unforgivable, and I wasn't going to allow him to disrespect his brother in life and in death as well. My wife has been crying constantly because our son blocked us, and she started blaming me as well. I'm hurt, but I don't regret what I did or even see what I did wrong. I feel like my youngest should take accountability for his actions instead of blaming everyone else. Not the idiot. When someone takes the time to plan for their death and outline what should be done, it's appropriate to honor those wishes. Your oldest didn't want them there and was very clear about this. I also agree with you that your youngest needs to take accountability for the horrible thing he did to his brother. The youngest doesn't deserve, nor is he entitled to anything more from his brother. The entitlement of this guy is ridiculous. His younger brother is either dumber than a bag of rocks or a total narcissist. I betrayed my brother's trust in one of the worst ways possible, but now that he's passed, how will I ever get rid of this guilt I feel? Won't anyone think of me? Like, man, you just lived the fool around and face the consequences way of life firsthand. So deal with your consequences, you Judas. Yeah, what did the younger brother expect to happen when he slept with the older brother's wife? He'd be dead to me too. And then instead of taking responsibility, he blocks his parents? Like, the dude just got a lesson about how there's not always a later and decided to cut out more people. OP, does your youngest know he isn't the victim here? Wow. He lost his brother the moment he decided to sleep with his wife. Additionally, how dare he blame you for losing his opportunity to make things right? There was no coming back from that kind of betrayal. I feel sorry for your wife. She's afraid she'll lose her remaining son, but she blames the wrong person. She needs to hold him accountable for what he's done and figure out her relationship with him without involving you. This upcoming Mother's Day will be my wife's first time celebrating as a mom, so I understand she now takes precedence over my mom. I hoped my family would understand that on their own, but I didn't have high expectations. Recently, my sister suggested plans for Mother's Day, and I explained that I'd be unable to attend. My sisters immediately seemed annoyed, but my mom didn't say anything. I said we would do something another time, and my mom told me not to worry about it. I reiterated that the actual day is now for my wife. My mom said that that was my decision, but she was busy, and we didn't need to do anything another day. She says she doesn't see the point in celebrating things on random days. Now, I wonder if I'm an idiot, because I got annoyed and called her a master manipulator. I said she should be wanting to help me make the day special for my wife, and now she's just making things harder. My mom got mad and said she has a life and doesn't owe me random days. At this point, her husband overheard and came down, blew up on me for calling her that, and told me to get out of his house. I texted her later that I was sorry for yelling and said I get change can be challenging, and if she's jealous of my wife, it's okay, and just something to work through. My mom got mad and said I think everything revolves around my wife, when in reality, no one gives a crap about her except me, and to leave the family alone and let them celebrate Mother's Day as they always have. Why does your mom detest your wife? Could it be that you want everyone to dance in her presence? Oh, and learn to control your temper. Your mom wasn't being manipulative. You were angry that she didn't want to fawn all over your wife. You are the idiot. Why can't you be nice to both your mother and the mother of your children on the same day? Wow, OP, you blew this way up out of proportion. You're incredibly condescending. Mom accepted that you weren't celebrating Mother's Day with her. You're the one who accused her of being jealous and a manipulator. You're the problem. You are the idiot. Geez, way to go nuclear. I'm going contrary to the popular opinion here. OP's behavior aside, I think the concept of Mother's Day changes once a son is married and now a father himself. Until OP's kids are old enough to take on the chores of Mother's Day, it's up to OP, and his wife is his first obligation. Yes, he should see his mother, but a visit later with flowers fills the bill. I, 30 male, was at my brother's 34 house when my sister-in-law, 31, went into labor. They live on the countryside, so the signal could be better sometimes, unless they walk up the lane. My brother was supposed to take her to the hospital instead of calling an ambulance, but for some reason, he decided to freak out and drive off somewhere. I can't drive, so I ran up the lane to call 999. It took forever to get a signal, and then it took forever for the ambulance to get to the house. I almost had to hand deliver the baby, for goodness sake. She ended up giving birth in the back of the ambulance. This whole time, my brother had just disappeared. He finally turned up at the hospital about 8 hours after disappearing. Apparently, he'd gone to our dad's house until Dad found out my sister-in-law gave birth and made my brother go see her. I yelled at him outside the hospital for being so stupid. He told me that he just got scared and didn't know what to do. I told him that he's going to be a crap dad if he keeps reacting like this. What's he going to do when the kid gets injured and it's his responsibility to take him to the hospital? Is he just going to dump the kid and run off to Dad's again? He's such an idiot. He started crying and called me a witch for being so mean to him. I just lost it with him, and he was acting like a child when he should be comforting his wife and apologizing to her for being an idiot. He called me names and told me I didn't understand his feelings. I get that he was scared, but he needs to get a grip and help his wife. Am I the idiot? Oh, he's scared? Imagine being his wife, seeing her 34-year-old husband run off to God knows where for God knows how long, while her water's broken, she's contracting labor pains and left alone, and then to find out he'd run off to and stayed at for 8 hours his daddy's place? This is not a grown man. He's not fit to be a father. What a betrayal. Holy crap. If I were her, I don't think he'd even get the chance to redeem himself after this. In my personal opinion, you're not the idiot. Becoming a parent is a huge thing, and even if you think you're ready, you'll never truly be. But he just disappeared for 8 hours while his wife was in labor. What if there were complications? He needs to get his crap together and seek therapy if his response to stress is to run away, leaving his wife in a potentially harmful situation. And she needs to rethink their relationship if he doesn't. Her life and her child's life were at stake. His first act as a dad could have been being responsible for the baby's death. Somebody in their 30s should be able to handle a stressful situation for which they've had 9 months to prepare. How did he manage to get married in the first place? I would never feel safe with that man again, and I would never leave my child in his care. I've been with my husband for 8 years. He has a young teen daughter, my stepdaughter. I have a teen son, a tween son, and my husband and I have an infant daughter together. Prior to my giving birth, life was pretty smooth sailing. We did family trips often, had Sunday family night, and designated one-on-one time with each of the kids, except my oldest, who's determined he's too cool for us, LOL. But if he wanted, it was always available. There were a few fights between the kids, but nothing major, and they were usually resolved within minutes. Since I had the baby, everything has gone downhill. My home has become a war zone between my youngest son and my stepdaughter. They're physically fighting each other, constantly, 90% of the time with my stepdaughter instigating. She knows my son has ASD and ADHD and doesn't like being touched, so she'll go up to him and poke him continuously, even after being told to stop, and then calls him psycho when he flips out. He can sometimes have a bit of a violent rage, which doctors say is common with ADHD, but it's literally on purpose. She purposely provokes him to a point where my husband and I have told her at least 8 times that she's to stay away from him entirely for the rest of the day. I've noticed lately that my youngest son has been getting incredibly emotional lately. He screams at me when I try to get him to talk about it. It's been a huge thing, and I've been over the top stressed out. He's in therapy, behavioral, OT, and regular therapy. His stepdaughter's also in therapy. Well, his behavioral therapist opened up to me about 2 weeks back, saying that she was concerned about my son and asked specifically how much influence my stepdaughter, who's also in therapy, has over my son. She said a lot of stuff has been said in therapy. I won't go into extreme detail, but it was enough to warrant a conversation with my husband and him cracking down on what his daughter was saying to my son. Eventually, he grounded her for that and something else, which made it worse. This morning around 6 a.m., school vacation, my son just started flipping out over nothing. I tried talking to him, and he told me, "Shut up. You never even loved me anyway." I asked him what he was talking about, and he just screamed at me to shut up again. My stepdaughter is also in therapy. She was at the table eating cereal and said, "Get used to it. Like I told you, nobody loves middle kids. You should just move out now." He storms off to his room. I asked her if she was the reason why he was acting like this morning, and she said, "No, you are." I didn't make him a middle kid. All I did was explain to him that he'll never be loved again. But I didn't make that happen. You did. She's also a middle child in both households, so she talks about middle child syndrome often. My husband walked in, told his daughter to go to her room, and took her phone again. He went to talk to me and apologize, but I just kind of cut him off and said, "I actually can't do this anymore. Your daughter's destroying my son's life and making him think that I hate him, and I'm starting to hate that kid to the point where I can't be near her. So I'm going to leave. I would like you and your kid out of my home within 2 months. I own the property and have owned it for 15 years. He tried to argue that this can be fixed, but it's really come to a point where I hate his child, and I don't want her near my son at all. She's great with the baby, or me. He says he can't believe I'm throwing us away over something that can be fixed." Not the idiot. Maybe it can be fixed, but it cannot be fixed while that kid is in your home. A young teen's old enough to understand bullying. It's a really sad situation, but you do need to protect your children, and it seems that the daughter's therapy isn't helping her in a meaningful way. Her goal might be to become an only child again. I wouldn't be surprised. Based on what she's saying to the son and how she talks about being a middle child, I smell some very strong projection. Honestly, as much as I feel for your stepdaughter because she's struggling, you're being a good mom, and you're at your wit's end with a newborn. You are the idiot. Your husband needs to take his daughter and go at once. She's torturing your son physically, mentally, and emotionally. Don't cause more trauma by uprooting all of your children, even temporarily. He can get a hotel until he finds a place, but he needs to get her out of your house. Now, the fact that he's trying to blame you for what his daughter's done to your son is heinous. She's very clearly in need of therapy herself, but he can organize that for her from a safe place where she isn't using your son as a metaphorical punching bag to relieve herself of her own pain. I, 29 female, was getting married to my now husband, 32, and my mother-in-law, 59, was invited to the wedding. Of course. I got a strange feeling because she continued trying to pick a wedding dress for me when I already had one picked out, and I said I did. I brushed it off as I was excited. She also tried to get her son to choose a large fancy cake that was only 20% cake. As I told him, we already made all the arrangements: music, decorations, clothing. Fast forward to the day of the wedding. We had our ceremony and everything went great. The food and service were amazing. An artist drew me and my husband while we kissed. I noticed my mother-in-law wearing a simple white dress and didn't think much of it, even though I was a little upset. To have context, she's the only one besides me wearing the color. Later, when it was photo taking time, I was going to take a photo with my husband. We stood in front of the camera. We had no official previous photos besides the kiss. But my mother-in-law walked into the photo. I told her politely to get out a little so me and my husband could take photos with the professional first. She didn't listen and stayed in anyway, and my husband didn't say anything. I took one of our photos and photoshopped her out of it, as I didn't have a chance to get a photo with him alone. I posted it on my Instagram, and my mother-in-law texted me. She said I was disrespectful, and family comes first in everything. I said that it was my wedding, and I understood that, but I wanted a photo with him and me alone, and she didn't allow that. My husband is upset with me for acting this way, saying I'm being dramatic. Am I the idiot? So you couldn't get a single photo without your mother-in-law in it, just you and your husband? And your husband thinks you're behaving badly by being upset? Not the idiot, but I'm not really sure why you opted to get married to this guy, knowing that he was a mama's boy from the beginning. Your mother-in-law was really, literally, inserting herself in a place where she wasn't wanted. I'm surprised that the professional photographer didn't tell her politely, but firmly, to leave the frame. So you had a photo that was not what you wanted. You made it what you wanted. Okay, good for you. If she wants to pull the respect card, you got a couple of points to hit her with. Wearing white to a wedding? Really? Who does that? Except those who chronically need the spotlight and imposing herself in a photo where she was asked not to. As to being dramatic or not, that all lies in the delivery. Setting a boundary is only drama if the other person tries to invalidate it. Respect goes both ways. Best of luck in the future.